Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about a story that I'm seeing everywhere, you guys, and it's because it's a pretty strange story. This is the story of Kouri Richins. She was recently arrested for allegedly murdering her husband. Now, what makes this story different than others is because after her husband was found dead, she went on to write a children's book talking about what it's like as a child to go through the loss of a parent, the grieving process. This book is basically to help children who have lost a parent to go through that process and to come out, on the other side, happy and knowing that your parent may not be there in the physical form, but is still there with you. Her plan was to release multiple books. However, she was arrested and charged with her husband's murder. Now, that's what makes it so different, is she was playing it up on TV and interviews as the heartbroken widow, when in reality, it seems like she was the one that killed him, and she actually attempted, allegedly, like several times before she actually succeeded. So let's go ahead, let's roll the intro, and we will get right into the story. Okay, so obviously if we're going to talk about the story, we have to talk about Eric. Eric was born on May 13th, 1982, which, by the way, I'm filming this on May 12th. It will probably go up on May 13th, which will be the birthday of Eric. So he was the oldest of three. He was the only boy to his parents, Linda and Jean. In 2011, when Eric was 29 years old, he was introduced by a family friend to Kouri Richins. Kouri was just 23 years old at the time that they met. Now, Eric came from a very prominent, well-known, rich family. However, Kouri did not. At the time that the two began dating, Eric already owned his own construction business, while Kouri, she owned a housekeeping service. The couple seemed to hit it off and quickly fell in love. They would get married 2 years later. Now, before the wedding, Kouri was asked and agreed to sign a prenuptial agreement. I mean, Eric was already established. He had a construction business. He had his own money. So, of course, he wanted to protect his assets. But Kouri, she didn't object to that. She signed it and they went on to get married. Throughout the next few years of their marriage, things seemed to be going great. Kouri would have 3 babies, 3 boys. She became a licensed real estate agent, and her real estate business was booming. It was thriving. Eric's construction company was doing great also. Both Eric and Kouri were very busy with their jobs, but they made sure to have time to spend with their family, with their boys. Eric was a very involved father. He coached his son's baseball and soccer team. He would take the boys hunting, fishing. He would go help out at his family's cattle ranch. He would take the boys with him. All the reports that I'm seeing, it just talks about how great of a man and a father Eric was to his children. 8 years into their marriage, in 2021, Eric started to suspect that Kouri was stepping out on him. Kouri seemed to be busier than ever. She didn't really seem to have time for him or the kids. And when she was there at the house, she seemed really disengaged. Now, despite Eric's concerns that Kouri was cheating on him, he made up his mind that he wasn't going to leave her. He was not going to file for divorce because he did not want to put his kids through him and his wife separating, getting a divorce, and disrupting their lives. He even talked to his sister and some of his friends, and he told them, like, I'm positive that she's cheating, but I'm going to stick it out for my children. In January 2022, Eric was notified that Kouri had made some changes to his life insurance policy. Kouri had removed Eric's business partner as the beneficiary, and she named herself, which I don't know why his wife wouldn't be named as the beneficiary. I do know that he had his business before they got married, so maybe he had named the business partner way back then and just never updated it to name Kouri as the beneficiary. Or maybe whenever he suspected that she was cheating or at different times, maybe he went in and changed it. I don't know. It is kind of weird that his wife wasn't named. Either way, Kouri found out that she was not the beneficiary. She went in, she changed it, but Eric was notified of the change. So he went in after her and changed it again. This time he listed his sister as his beneficiary. Now, Kouri was unaware that he went back and made this change. Now, while that was alarming that she changed his insurance policy and listed herself as the beneficiary, it wasn't as alarming as what was about to happen. So on February 14th, 2022, which was Valentine's Day, Eric made a conscious effort to spend the day with his wife. He knew things was not great. He had suspicions that his wife was cheating, but he wanted to put in all the effort that he could. So he made the effort for them to spend the day together. Kouri made dinner for the two. They enjoyed dinner together. Now, after dinner, he would get extremely ill. He broke out in hives to the point that he had to use their son's EpiPen. He had to take Benadryl and he ended up passing out. The next morning, Eric woke up and he really believed that Kouri had poisoned him the night before. He actually called his sister as well as a family friend and told both of them that he believed that Kouri tried to poison him. Now, once again, this was something that was alarming and he wanted to get a divorce, but he really did not want to disrupt his kids' lives. So he decided he was going to continue to stick it out. He would tell his sister as well as a family friend that if anything happened to him, to look at Kouri, that more than likely it was her. Less than a month later, Eric would be dead. On March 4th, 2022, around 3:30 in the morning, Kouri would call 911. Kouri told the 911 operator that she had just returned to her in her husband's bedroom, was getting in bed when she noticed that her husband was cold to the touch and unresponsive. Once the police arrived, she told the police that Eric had actually suffered from a pain pill addiction earlier, but he had been clean and sober for several years. Now, because of this statement, the police thought, well, maybe it was a drug overdose and they needed to get a search warrant for the house so they could go through the house, see if there was any drugs in the house. They needed to get a search warrant for the cell phones or the computers. That way they could figure out if he was in fact buying drugs. The evidence would be possibly in his cell phone or maybe in the computer, what he was buying, who he was buying it from, how much he was buying. And it could give them some insight into if he was in fact doing drugs. Now, upon investigating Eric's death, the police uncovered a lot of shocking information. After obtaining the search warrant, the police began going through the phones, and sure enough, they did find messages asking for large quantities of pain pills and then fentanyl. However, the messages were not from Eric's phone, they were from Kouri's phone. Police found messages from Kouri's phone from Kouri to someone who was labeled CL. Now, what's crazy is one of the dates that Kouri was inquiring about large quantities of pain pills was on February 11th, just 3 days before the February 14th incident where they had dinner together and he got violently ill afterwards. And he thought that she tried to kill him, that she tried to poison him. Just 3 days prior to that, the police found out that she had inquired about getting pain pills from this friend, CL, or this acquaintance, or whoever it was. Kouri messaged CL and asked CL if he could get her some strong pain pills. Kouri told this person that they were for an investor who had a back injury. Now, 2 weeks after that, Kouri would message CL again, and this time she would ask for something stronger, specifically the Michael Jackson stuff. CL gave Kouri 15 to 30 fentanyl pills. She would pay $900 for this drug, and exactly 1 week later, Eric would be dead. Now, as the police continued to investigate, more and more damning evidence against Kouri would come to light. Just before Eric's death, Kouri purchased a $2 million home to flip. Now, before she made this purchase, she obviously went to her husband, Eric, told him that she wanted them to purchase this $2 million home in order for her to flip for her real estate business. However, Eric wasn't on board for it. He told her he did not want to pay for that house. And at this point, I can't say I blame him. However, the day that Eric died, earlier that day, she signed off on the paperwork to purchase the home, even though Eric did not want to. Kouri told the investigators that she signed off on the paperwork, and that night she came home and she made Eric a mixed drink, a Moscow Mule, in order to celebrate her purchase, which I feel like he probably wasn't in the celebrating mood if she made the purchase that he didn't even want to make. But according to her, she made him this drink. He was sitting on the bed. She brought it to him. He sat on the bed and started to drink it. And she went to bed with one of their sons. She said one of their boys had been experiencing night terrors. So rather than going to bed in her bed with her husband, she went to bed with her son. She claimed around 3 o'clock in the morning, she went to return to her bedroom to go to bed with her husband. And that's when she noticed that Eric was cold and unresponsive. She told the police that night that once she brought Eric his drink, that her cell phone was actually in their bedroom. And that when she went to lay with their son, she did not bring her cell phone with her, that her phone stayed in her bedroom. She didn't talk to anybody that night. However, the forensic team was able to pull internal data, and they were able to establish that her phone was being used, that it was locked and unlocked several times, that it sent as well as received messages. However, those messages were deleted. Eric's sister and friend would go forward and they would tell the police what they knew, what Eric had told them. That if anything was to ever happen to him, to please look at Kouri. Eric's sister will recount the February 14th incident that Eric told her happened just a month prior, not even a month prior, like 2 weeks before his death. That they had a Valentine's Day dinner together that she cooked, and after he ate, he got extremely sick. Now, not only did Eric's sister tell investigators about this incident, but she also knew about a prior incident that happened years before. So according to the sister, she told investigators that years prior, Eric and Kouri had went to Greece. They were on vacation, and Kouri had made Eric a drink. And after he drank the drink, he got violently ill again, also believing that his wife was poisoning him. He would also tell his sister, I think she's trying to kill me. Now, as the police continued to get as much evidence as they could, Kouri would go on with her life. Sometimes she would play the part of grieving widow. Other times she would be happy, enjoying life, celebrating all the good things that were coming her way. The day after Eric's death, Kouri would host a party to celebrate the purchase of this $2 million home. Kouri invited several friends over. They were drinking and celebrating. And it was at this time that Kouri actually learned that she was not the beneficiary over the insurance policy. Eric's sister was also at this party, and it was her who informed Kouri that she was no longer over the estate. She was not the beneficiary over the policy, that he had in fact named her before he was killed, died, whatever you want to believe. Obviously, the sister believes that Kouri killed him. So at that party, she informed her. She was like, listen here, you're not the beneficiary. I am. Kouri was so mad that she allegedly assaulted Eric's sister. Kouri would go on to file a lawsuit against her sister-in-law to try to gain access over the estate. Now, while investigators were hard at work trying to solve Eric's death, his widow, Kouri, would go on to write a children's book titled, Are You With Me? Like I said, the book was aimed at children who had lost a parent and who were going through the grieving process of losing their parent. Kouri said this book was based on her own experience of coping with grief and loss. The book was released March 2023, which was right around the 1-year mark of Eric's death. Kouri would do interviews to promote this book. In these interviews, she would tell the world how her husband's death shocked and devastated her, but that she found ways to process her grief and that she wanted to share those ways, the ways that they coped with their loss, with others who was dealing with something similar. In these interviews, Kouri mentioned that she would continue to work on other books similar to this one. The next book that she intended to release would be called Mom, How Far Away Is Heaven? Now, this book was supposed to be written from the perspective of a young boy dealing with the loss of his father. Kouri said that she also planned to release a similar book about a little girl who was grieving the loss of her mother. Seems like Kouri was really trying to cash in on Eric's death and really continue to play the part of a devastating, grief-stricken widow. When in reality, that's not at all, allegedly, who she is. On May 5th, 2023, Kouri would share a video of her and Eric to her Facebook page. She captioned the video, "Life is just too damn hard without you here. The cards that I've been dealt seems like a game that just can't be played." 4 days later, Kouri would be arrested and charged with aggravated murder and possession with the intent to distribute a controlled substance. Obviously, Kouri would claim that she was innocent. However, Eric's autopsy report showed that he died from a drug overdose. The medical examiner said that the levels of fentanyl in his system were 5 times the lethal dosage, and it was believed that it was ingested orally. And the only evidence that linked anyone to fentanyl was the text messages in Kouri's phone, where she texts CL asking for the Michael Jackson stuff. And obviously, the investigators, they would seek out this CL person, speak to this person, and CL admitted that he did in fact sell prescription drugs as well as illicit fentanyl to Kouri, not Eric. He admitted in a sworn statement that he had never had any dealings with Eric and only with Kouri. Kouri is scheduled to make her first court appearance on May 19th, 2023 for a detention hearing. Kouri and Eric's children have been placed with Eric's side of the family. Now, the public is shocked, obviously, as you can imagine, to see this woman allegedly poison her husband and then turn around and write and sell children's books on how to deal with the grief of losing a loved one. It's kind of mind-boggling, but I guess this woman, she felt like if she couldn't get the $3.6 million that she thought she was going to get in his life insurance policy, then she had to cash out some way. So I guess writing books was the next best thing for her. Now, according to the Legal Information Institute, Kouri could possibly face the death penalty if found guilty of aggravated murder. I will continue to follow this case. I will continue to keep up with this. So if you guys are interested in keeping up with the story, please consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure you leave me all your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel if you leave a comment and give a thumbs up. So I would really appreciate it if you guys did that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.